All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody took some time out to remember what it's actually about. I sure did. And watched movies all day yesterday and, really took time to think about the guys that didn't make it back that gave the ultimate sacrifice to defend our freedoms, which is why we're here today, is to protect our religious freedoms from people like David. One thing I want to get into is something I saw about a church in Indiana, Pastor John Lowe, getting called out by one of his fucking congregation members. This lady, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it already. She got up in front of this church and said, "This guy was sexually assaulting me. He did it when I was 16. I've I thought it was my fault for 20 years, but no, it's your fucking fault. It's your fucking fault," is what she says. Gets up in front of this whole church, lets everybody know. My question is, why the fuck aren't the cops in there arresting that piece of shit right away? I don't give the statute of limitations for these churches, guys. This is why we do this, man. This is why we do this. 20-something years this lady had been suffering from what this piece of shit pastor had done. Imagine how many other survivors there are, or other victims there are out there of this guy. Not just her. Not just her. There's more. If he's done it once, he's done it more. Also, the Baptist Church has been brought up on some other charges as well. Some cover-ups. You guys, not only is there like financial crimes going on within some of these religious institutions and these cults, but there's also huge sexual crimes going on, guys, against people. This is what we try to point out. One of the huge things we try to point out, because usually if that guy's done that one time, he's done it again. He's done it again. In a church like that, where you're the pastor and you're almighty and you can do no wrong, the guy gets up there and says, "I'm asking you to forgive me." And then at one point, something says, the pastor says she wasn't 15, she was 16. Like it makes it any fucking better, Like he really tries to downplay the situation by saying, "Oh, she was a year older." Why don't the cops just go in there and fucking arrest him? Statute of limitations, there's no proof, no evidence. So again, these people just slide by under the fucking radar once again. Here we go, guys. This is why we do this. Because of people like David, people like this John Lowe. These people that are actually abusing the cloth, man, to fuck people up. I'm happy for that lady. That took some fucking guts. What's even sicker, though, what's even more sick about it, is people actually stayed. People stayed in that church and went and prayed over the pastor after she fucking told them all that shit. Again, we have to ask ourselves, what would somebody have to tell us to make us do something we would never think we would do ourselves? That's Jim Jones' son saying that. We have to examine that. But at what point do we stand up and say, "Hold the fuck up. We've examined it enough and there's fucking abuse and this assault going on and nothing's being done about it"? And then in the end, these pastors and these fucking child fucking predators is what they are, get up there, "Oh, I need you to forgive me." No, motherfucker, you're a sick fucking twisted piece of shit and you need to be in fucking prison. Bottom line. End of story. That's it. That's the only solution for that. That's the only fucking solution. Any other person in the world, me, you, any other fucking person, book, fucking prison, sex offender list for the rest of your fucking life, everything, the works. The works, man. But if you do it under God, it's all cool and kosher and everything is like, let's just go ahead and move him. But no, he actually resigned. This guy resigned. So if you're in Indiana, all right, and you think you're a victim of this guy, you need to call and let him know. You need to call and let the authorities know right away. You need to call Let the police know. Let the feds know. Let whoever the fuck know. If you think your child's been a victim of this guy, you need to call people. You need to let people know right away. Inside Edition already got a hold of the story. Inside Edition already got a hold of the story. You know when they get a hold of it, it's not good. I mean, this lady took bravery what this lady did. Absolute bravery.
By a beloved pastor.
I committed adultery. It was nearly 20 years ago.
Against a 16-year-old.
It continued far too long.
65-year-old Reverend John Lowe, who has been married to his wife Debbie for 45 years, poured out his heart to his congregation in Warsaw, Indiana during Sunday services, but it didn't quite go as he hoped.
I sinned. I need to say that, and you deserve to hear it.
I sinned.
Churchgoers rewarded him with a standing ovation, but things soon took a darker turn. A woman named Bobby Gephardt joined him on the altar and said she was the woman involved, and the preacher was not telling the whole story.
I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor. Do you remember that? I know you do. You did things to my teenage body that had never and should have never been done.
She said she had been traumatized for 20 years by her experience at his hands. Then the woman's husband, Nate, joined in and held up some jewelry.
This was Bobby's covenant purity ring, which she wore while this man had sex with her, and she felt ashamed all these years.
As she stormed out of the church, members of the congregation embraced her and shouted angrily at their pastor.
If you did it, you need to admit it. 100%.
The pastor had to face the congregants and beg for their forgiveness once again.
I ask you to forgive me, and that's all I can do.
Abby Plummer is the preacher's former daughter-in-law. She also knows the victim well.
It's sad all the way around. I felt for Bobby. I admire her and Nate for doing that. But the only reason the truth came out was because Bobby and her husband had the courage to walk up there and tell the truth.
Brienne Boswell, a reporter for Wayne 15 in Fort Wayne, says people have been suspicious of the preacher
Listen to this.
for years.
We spoke with a lot of community members on the street today in downtown Warsaw. They honestly say that they aren't shocked by this information. They say that John Lowe...
They aren't shocked by this information. What the fuck does that say about some of these people? Are they not fucking vetting these fucking weirdos? That they're not shocked by the information. They're not shocked by the information. That's what's disgusting about this.
Always seemed as though he was too good to be true. There's always speculation that there was something more happening behind closed doors.
The lies and the manipulation have to stop.
Lies and manipulation. That's exactly what some of these fucking preachers, scam, fucking scummy, pissant fucking churches do, man. Not calling all churches bad, everybody. I'm just saying. Prime example. This guy's been doing it longer than he says. If he'd done it once, there's probably fucking numerous fucking victims out there that need to be helped. This is one of the reasons I report David for fraud. Because for all we know, he could be running some kind of trafficking ring and we don't even know it. Right under our fucking noses. And shit like this could be happening. I'll file fraud again today on him. I actually have the reports here. I have some letters in the mail from the IRS saying that they received my other reports and that there's a ongoing program that they have to make sure that there's no fraud and shit like that. But I'll most likely never get a response or anything. We can have a voice in this, and we can help put a stop to some of these corrupt organizations, like especially these corrupt churches, guys, like David's. We can, again, 13909, okay, tax exempt organization complaint referral. I fill these out once a week, guys. I didn't do it yesterday, obviously, for Memorial Day, but I'm going to submit these again. And this is how we stop them. We take away their tax exemption. Because this is their little fucking piggy bank. When they start getting taxed, like, they got to pay taxes on their millions of dollars, and they're going to get hit hard in the pocketbook. What better way to stop somebody from doing some fucking corrupt shit than take away their fucking money flow, right? Once I found out I could file fraud against these assholes, I started doing it. 100%. Once I find out more on Catherine Crick, I'll start filing fraud against her too, because she's doing some fucking shady shit with her money too as well. 100%. As far as David goes, let's talk about him for a minute here. David's still nowhere to be seen. Looks like they're doing very minimal work, really. All the videos are reruns for the most part, it looks like. The Arena Crusade. Let's talk about this Amway Arena here in depth for a minute, guys. This whole Amway Arena that they've been preaching, David, Michelle, whoever, if you're still alive, which I don't believe you are. If he's still alive, okay, this Amway Arena isn't ever going to happen. He's been talking about it since like 2018, 2019. We're what, 2022 now? And he's always talking. That must be his biggest money-making scam machine is the Amway Arena. Oh, we got to keep pushing it out. But if anybody is listening to this from that cult, okay, the Amway Arena is never going to happen. Never has been, never will be. It's too much. The stage isn't finished. He's not going to fill it with 20,000 people. He's fucking full of shit. Okay? He's not that important. It's all a disguise to get your money. He's doing the very minimal to keep the scam alive, basically. With the convoy, all that shit. Okay? The Amway Arena, the cost, okay, logistics. I mean, he doesn't have anybody to tear down and set up that stage. Not gonna happen, man. I promise you guys. Not only that, is I've talked to people in this who actually do this kind of work and said, dude, this is the dumbest fucking idea that we've ever seen. Professionals, David and Michelle, that actually do this kind of thing and have seen your dumbass idea and be like, nah, this will never work. Too much. It'll cost too much because those things only get more expensive, David. Your tours only get more expensive after each event. Okay? I mean, your first event, it's going to easily cost you a couple million, David. You don't have that kind of money. Michelle, David, you guys had to pull a loan for the house from a loan shark. You don't have the kind of money you need to pull off this Arena Crusade. And what David's telling his followers, all right, any of his followers out there listening, my hair's not in the glory, guys, sorry. What David's telling his followers is that they have to keep pushing it out. Oh, it might be 2024 because of COVID restrictions, but there's no COVID restrictions in Florida. The Amway Arena is actually open. It's how they're hosting events. So David is trying to control that information from everybody as usual, right? So anybody that's giving money to David for this Amway Arena, it's not going to happen. He just bought that mansion down in Florida. Okay, so not going to happen. I mean, for the most part, too, David's been real quiet. I mean, again, I think he's fucking deceased, man. Again, I'm still looking. I got to find out if he is, all right? I'm still looking at that. That can be a little bit more touchier because next of kin, I have his social security number, but once a death certificate's filed, it's public record. I just got to find it out. That's all. So I'll be doing that some more to find out. That's difficult. Trying to find out somebody died. So not difficult, but that process it's a little awkward. So I'm treading lightly there. And again, if somebody wanted to keep his death quiet, they could. Wouldn't be that hard. On another note, the podcast I kind of pretty much got the votes for everything. The name of the podcast is going to be God, Greed, and Guile. I think it's a good name. There were a bunch of good names, guys. They were all fucking great names, dude. I was going to put 10 names, but YouTube only let me put 5. That's how good of names there were. Like, I had a hard time choosing between all of them. So I broke them down, so those were the best 5. They're all great names, guys. They're all fucking radical names, I think, dude. And they all fit perfectly for what we're doing. But the name of the podcast will be God, Greed, and Guile. And I'll probably be doing my first podcast. I might upload it tonight and do an intro to the podcast tonight. And then from there, I'll start doing podcasts as well. But what I would like to do is do podcast and YouTube at the same time. I'm still working on getting that set up. That way, when I'm doing the YouTube broadcast, I can also do podcasts at the same time. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. That's the direction of the channel. I'm going to keep on doing here. And the God Greed Guile channel, that's going to be open for discussion. That's not just going to be David. I think we're going to focus across the board on the prosperity ministers in general. Not only that, but the more in-depth abuse, I think, would be a good one to look at with the podcast, definitely. Because, again, look at this lady with John Lowe. 20 years, or 26, 27 years, she lived inside her own head as a victim, as a survivor, because of what this fucking piece of shit did. So I think it's time we start paying more attention to, really, the crimes under the church. Big time. Big time. Need to put all the religion aside, guys. Again, I'm not saying church is bad. I support what churches do. There are good churches out there, and I've seen them. We all have. But every so often, you get a shitty leader, right? Get a bad leader like David, like John Lowe, Benny Hinn, Jesse Duplantis. You get these guys, and they just fucking shit on it. So that's going to be kind of an update. David's quiet. Videos, they're all reruns, man. They have no new content, and that's the thing. If he's claiming to be a church, like, why is he holding services anymore? But there's technically supposed to be a church and having services, but he's still taking in money without holding services, so there's something kind of shady going on there. I mean, his whole thing is shady. The whole cult is shady. The fact that we don't hear from them or see them is what makes it even more shadier. So, you guys got any questions, comments, concerns? Let me know. I'm going to file again on David today. Again, every week, guys, I file. This is how we hurt them. We take away their tax-exempt organization status. Also, what I wanted to point out is I was actually looking on the IRS website last week. Joshua Media Ministries International tax ID number is no longer on the IRS database. So it's either been revoked or they took it down. One of the two. And they can do that. The IRS can revoke your status. They can take it away just as quick as they gave it to you. And the fact that David hasn't filed against that organization in several years. And what they're doing, guys, if you look at the videos they're putting up, it's like they're putting up JMMI, a JMMI email address and a KOGGC email address. So it's, which one are they? But they have Marvels in America World Healing also. So that's kind of, it makes sense what they're doing because they have just not very smart people running the organization. Again, they're preaching JMMI and all this other shit online, and they're contradicting their own scam, basically. They're either JMMI or KOGGC, but they also have Marvels in America World Healing. So, again, questions, comments, concerns, you guys leave below. I want to say thank you to everybody for submitting the podcast name, man. They were all fucking badass, guys. They really were. I had a hard time choosing. Every time one came in, I'm like, damn, that one's good. Another one came in, I'm like, damn, that one's fucking badass too. So, again, guys, thank you. Thank you for that. You guys did great, man. You guys had some fucking bitchin' names. I'm not going to dispute that fact 1 minute. We're gonna take this far, guys, and we're gonna, on the podcast, if you want to call in and talk, that's fine. It'll be hosted on Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So I'm gonna do it on 3 platforms, and I've already had people calling, requesting to call and talk, and I'm all about it, guys. Be a perfect platform for somebody to come in and talk about their experience with one of the prosperity ministers, the fivefold movement, the New Apostolic Reformation, or cult, or whatever. One of these scammy kind of religions, man. Because there is good churches out there. There are good churches. Let's talk about the ones that we know of that are really scammy and really corrupt and doing some really fucked up, shady shit behind the curtain, right? How did it say in Wizard of Oz? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, right? Well, the church being the curtain, and then there's always a man behind that curtain, which is usually some kind of corrupt crook like David, or you get this John Lowe guy who was assaulting his members.